running an African startup is very different to running a startup anywhere else in the world. There's the tech OGs, guys who've done it for a while. There's the new kids on the block. There's the VCs, impact investors, government stakeholders, and everybody else. It is a crazy show. And if you have been running a startup or know somebody who has, the one thing everybody has is war stories. My name is Tonee, and my African startup story is about those war stories. It's about trying to find the African inside the business, wherever the startup founder is from. It's about being able to stand up for what you believe in, to keep integrity at the forefront of what you're running, and try not to go crazy while you do it. So even as you listen, whether you're a startup founder or in any of these sectors I've mentioned, may you learn something, be inspired, maybe even start your own business. Welcome to my African startup story. Enjoy.
Entrepreneurship for a lot of people tends to be a business thing. You start a shop, or you buy something and sell something to something else, or you create something that can be put out, whether it's a service or a product. That's what a lot of people think when they think that's what an entrepreneur is. But a lot of the times, it's not just those who go and do what we usually call white-collar jobs that are entrepreneurs. Artists are also entrepreneurs. And on today's show, we have Mugambi Nthiga. Or you have to know him, whether it's from Nairobi Half-Life or a dozen of the things he's done on TV, in theater, or in movies. It's just incredible what this guy has done. In the last 20 years, he's been in the business. So here's his story, because he is the African startup he will be talking about. Enjoy.
Brilliant. This is so dope. Mugambi Nthiga.
Yeah, man.
Nthiga.
Nthiga.
You know it's Dongo, so people always just throw names at me.
Oh, yeah. No, it must be tough. No, don't go.
That one. Quite that in the new one.
Yeah.
People just go Dugu and leave you alone. Tell me, man, it's been 10 years. That's the last time we sat down to have a real conversation.
Really?
15.
I think it's been longer.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a real conversation? I can't even remember.
I can tell you, it was 2006, before I was emceeing Mr. and Miss Yourself.
Oh, gosh.
And I panicked, and you sat me down and gave me a pep talk.
No way.
Yes, I remember that very clearly.
Boss, it was in 2006. It was 2002.
What?
Yeah, that was 2002.
That's
that was
a long
2002.
time ago.
Yeah.
And even then, you were still into art. You were still into...
Yeah.
I mean, you produced the whole thing.
I was dancing then. I was dancing for Jesus. I was part of a dance crew.
All over.
Called All Over, yeah. That's true.
I remember with like in a year.
Yeah.
You would have been in this planet for a minute, and I remember some things. That's true.
Yeah. That was a good time, man.
How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2020, first interview? Yes, thank you for coming.
Yeah, it is. It's first interview. Here's something interesting.
Yeah.
I used to draw.
I used to.
Yeah, you made icons.
I did.
And I remember you made one for me.
The campus is... What did you do?
That is madness.
What did you do?
I got into advertising, pretty much. You
worked for like a scanner type of Gilby situation.
Yeah. I actually worked. I worked for both of them, and you remember how when we'd come to the end of our studies, you'd have to do your internship.
Yeah.
And and this story is going somewhere.
Yeah.
I finished the coursework, and you remember we had the senior experience, and that was one of the last classes you took.
It was the last class we took, unless you failed a class.
And then you had to take it again. I was one of those guys.
I was one of those guys too.
I failed a couple of classes. Oh shucks! I missed a graduation by a year. Because I with my folks, it was bad. Oh,
damn it!
But it really brought us close afterwards. But I realized I was staying home a lot because I hadn't found an internship.
Yeah.
And I started getting stressed out and started getting migraines. But I'd never had migraines in my life before.
Wow.
And I got the first migraine while on campus, to the extent that I was driving my dad's car.
Yeah.
And I couldn't drive it home.
Because of migraine?
Yeah, it was bad. I couldn't see properly. It was bad. Jeez. So I thought we was scared. I thought it was like some brain damage thing or something. Turned out it was just migraines because of stress. And
this time you're like 20.
22.
I said that's an early migraine.
Yeah. And it's funny. I had them for a couple of years and then they never came back again.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm very, very, very relieved about that.
Yeah.
I went to the hospital and got admitted for like 3 or 4 days. It's good to be safe.
Yeah. Aneurysms, brain.
Yeah, it could be any of those.
Could be any of those things.
Yeah, and the pain was bad. Like if you saw me, anyone could see me and tell I was in bad shape. That weekend, and this is where the story was going. That weekend, I was supposed to audition for a musical called Sarafina.
Oh my god.
With Sterling Quality.
Yes.
And because
Rina was here a couple of days ago talking about Sterling.
No way. Yeah, Rina was the choreographer and she was part of the production team.
There you go.
And she, I was speaking with Alan Hicks, who's her husband now, and had to call him on the day of the audition and say, I'm sorry, I can't make it because I'm sick, I'm in the hospital. And he was like, wow, okay. Pauline Komu, who was our classmate, was the director, and she's the one who advised I do that. Yeah. And I begged and said, please, once I'm out of this, it's the reason I'm not there with you at the audition, but once I'm out of the hospital, I'd love to come and audition for you. So they were gracious enough to have me come on and sort of do a rehearsal audition where I'd join the rehearsal. And
so essentially they really picked you.
Well, they didn't know me. They were just really giving me a chance. Okay. And it was on Pauline's...
Word.
Yeah. Exactly. They were like, this is my classmate. He's been interested in doing this thing for a while. Yeah. And before then, I hadn't done much acting. Actually,
I think you're one of those church guys who went for all those church acting situations. You didn't?
It was mostly dance.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't doing much of that. Okay, man. It was huge, man. Massive. It was a phenomenon, man. It was crazy.
Hey, how many were you guys?
We had people coming in and out often, but the core team of people was about 15.
Hey, you guys were animals, man.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a church you all never went to. Nice.
And a club that we didn't go to.
And a club we didn't go to too.
We did both.
Yo, that's
we did both. Oh yeah, dude. We opened Pavement.
You did?
Oh God.
I was there.
No, dude. Oh my God, that was what?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yo, we'd never seen anything like it. You remember? Pavement was like state of the art.
It was sick.
It was like we've never seen anything like this before. It's like you
was so sick.
Got in the door and you entered another world. It was crazy, man.
Yeah, it was quite something.
When I joined advertising much later on, we'd have like activations and stuff there.
Yeah,
as it was on its way out.
It was kind of dulled out.
It had tanked. Yeah.
What? There's a time Pavement. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah.
So now you've gone Sterling. You want to do this?
Oh yeah. Yes, of course. This is where the story was going. You had the pointer there.
Yeah.
So I, long story short, I ended up joining the cast of Sarafina, and landed what was a significant principal role, the role of Stimela.
That's a principal role.
It is.
It's not significant. It is very principal.
It was so much fun playing that guy, and of course Sarafina was played by the amazing Kamze Matala. There was quite a number of people, actors like Peter King, Jason Runo, Kama Wandongo, a dear friend of mine, Wairimo, whose character was called Teaspoon, and everyone still calls her that to this day.
Teaspoon?
Yeah. Her character was called Teaspoon. People still call her that now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's stuck, and that was 2003, 4, I think. Yeah, it's a long time ago. Yeah, and
talk about defining moments.
Yeah, man, that was it for me because I was like, this is what I want to do, and not too long after I got out of the hospital, I did find an internship at a small agency called Access Leo Burnett. And because they needed some youth insights, and I was just straight out of campus, they were like, yo, ask the kid. So I was...
those days when you were the kid.
When I was the kid. Man.
He says in such regret. You reminisce about the days.
I do. I miss those days, man.
Yo, bro.
I really wish I enjoyed them more. I did not enjoy them as much as I should have.
Is it?
We're taking life too seriously, man. I don't know about you, but I was.
Well...
Because upbringing, at that point, the sort of spiritual upbringing belonged to the church. And the church took all its shit so seriously.
This is true.
And at that point, I don't know if you'd remember, we hadn't quite entered the prosperity age as it exists now. It was there, but it wasn't as, back then, Christianity was really about sufficiency, self-sufficiency, and taking your God-given
talents.
Yeah, your talents or your acumen or your insights and have those be the vehicle for your prosperity.
Exactly.
So it happened by the work of your hands. Yes. So there was, of course, he who doesn't work doesn't eat, or God will bless the work of your hands, and those were the verses that were really,
It's actually proliferated into people's lives.
Yes, that's true. That's what was governing us.
Exactly. That's who you need to be.
There was a lot of Zig Ziglar, and so we lived in such pressure of I'm not making it. I need to make it now. I need to be serious. I need to be Now I know a lot of young people are thinking that way now.
Are they? I hope not.
I've met A lot of them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I have to tell a lot of them to relax. Like, yo,
Take it easy.
take
man.
it easy. It's fine.
In our day, social media wasn't what it is now.
No, it's not. Wasn't.
It's not even close.
Okay, that's another thing. That's another thing.
Now everybody's Instagramming their life.
Yeah.
But that life is not real.
No, it's not.
Most people don't know this though.
Fortunately, the Joneses you're keeping up with were real people.
Then.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Then.
Even if there were Joneses and there was pressure, they were real.
They were real.
Now everybody
Now it's just
make-up situation.
I'll be Jones. I'll be the Jones. I'll be the Jones. Come at me, or I will give off the image of a Jones until that's what keeping up with the Joneses is now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really was the origin. So I knew
So
I was balancing things on one hand.
Yeah.
So I'm the young dude who at first I wanted to start off in client service, which I remember joining. I used to call customer care.
Mm-hmm.
Later, I was someone who was in charge of making sure that when an ad went out there, it wasn't breaking any copyright rules. And they're like, nigga, no. That's a person who writes copy.
Yes.
And copy is words. Words in advertising, on posters, on book covers, and all that stuff. Posters and billboards and radio and
So after uni,
internet.
you got schooled.
I did. I actually went to learn everything there because I was studying IT.
Yeah. What?
In USA. That's what I studied.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. It was a big mistake.
How did you? Yo.
It's because, okay, so remember again, when we were joining campus, Windows 98 was the thing. There was Windows 98, Windows NT, and then I can't remember what came after that.
Vista.
What? Vista was the next one?
I think so.
What? Okay, so 98 was there for a while, and I had such an acumen for it, like such a picture. Oh, yeah, you save a folder like that, you copy and paste like this, you rename the folder like that, drag and drop. I must be good at this shit.
Yeah, I can do it. This is my
IT is
thing.
it. But 3 years in, I was like, oh my god, I made a big mistake. And so I did an extra minor in marketing. 3 years into campus, I was like, shucks, now I can't turn back. So I did an extra minor in marketing.
What would you have done if you didn't do IT?
I joined to do IBA and then I changed the course.
Why?
Because I thought I was good at computers because I could drag and drop and name folders and stuff.
Jeez, man. Hey, being young and stupid is dangerous, bro.
Yeah. It's fun as well, man.
I did international relations. I still don't know what that
You
is
did
for.
IR?
I have no idea what it is. I can't hate on you because I'm like, what?
What on earth was that?
Yeah, what?
IR?
It was on the list of that.
What the hell?
God, what am I doing with myself? Anyway, there you go. Yes, so.
Oh, I love it. So now balancing these two things. Yeah, so I eventually, because of working on this youth brand, someone noticed, I think you can do this whole copywriting thing. And it was a small agency, so the creative director could be overruled anytime by the owners of the business. And to his chagrin, I was put under him, and he was terrible to me for the most part.
Everybody has a bad experience.
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah. He was very, very creative, but very awkward socially. And he had barely worked there for 6-7 months, and he was still getting a lay of the land.
What?
And being put, there's a lot of pressure being put on him anyway. So it was, I don't blame him.
Okay.
And then suddenly here's this young person who doesn't know anything
and
about
then it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
To add on to the craziness of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's why we didn't get off. It was good, I learned, grew, and then after a year moved to Ogilvy. And by this point, I was doing a lot more acting, but there wasn't a screen scene at that point.
Screen.
Yeah, there wasn't much going on the big screen or the small screen. There wasn't much on TV.
It was a pre-law 40% Kenyan content.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even before that law was passed, you still had to convince broadcasters that you can have Kenyan content and you can put people out there and up there on the screens, and they can be speaking local languages and people would like that stuff.
Yeah.
It was still such a strange idea because the idea of local entertainment was what KBC was offering.
Yeah.
I think there was a place for it. There was an audience for it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, here's a piece of trivia which I discovered on Twitter, and I really hope whoever it was that put that fact was actually saying the truth and wasn't looking for likes, because you don't know anymore. But they talked about how Vioja Mahakamani was like a civic education program.
That I know for a fact.
So it's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
So entertainment was known to be, to spread values and teach people and educate. That's really why entertainment existed.
Yes.
Now, when I talk about trying to take the media the other way now, it's like everything now is just bland and banal, and everything looks like everything else. And you'd ask, why do you have this show, and people
They probably
just
say
to
something.
entertain.
They say something like the other station has it, so we
Yeah,
need to have it.
yeah. If they were really honest with you, they would say that.
That's the truth.
Or they would say, this is what's big, or this is what people are watching. Nah, that's just
This is
that's
why
just you imitating.
Netflix are going up, Showmax is going up. That's why these things are happening.
You know, the person that you think your Kenyan programming is too clever for is probably going to his DVD guide, looking for Game of Thrones or whatever, or
and if
stream
you
the
think
show.
about it, I have not seen a Kenyan show on a billboard in the same way GOT was on a billboard.
Yeah, true.
So that
true.
says a lot about
it
who's
does.
paying attention to what show, where, and how.
It does, yeah. And fortunately, now we do have Kenyan shows on billboards. We have Selena, we have, I forget which other ones I've seen. We had Kona. There was a protracted campaign for Kona, which unfortunately didn't do that well.
Yeah. There's also this other one.
We didn't have that going on then. A lot of the films had been funded by NGOs and had a very strong... I'll give you a really good example. Saikati was about rural-urban migration and how it's difficult for young people to find and sort of come to town and make their way around and settle down. But it was really about not so much the economics of it, but the socio-cultural aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like a cautionary tale to young people to maintain your identity. Geshaginess.
Put it I mean, what it is.
Maintain your identity in the city. But there was also a lot about forced marriage upcountry. So the city was portrayed as a good guy. I don't think that film would have aged well by now.
No.
But then you had Saikati, the sequel, which was now funded by Red Cross or something, about this lady who'd now come to the city, now finds a way of becoming self-sufficient by becoming a flying doctor or some things like
What? By becoming a flying doctor?
Yeah, she becomes a doctor or a nurse. I hope it was a doctor, but on their flying services. So there was a lot of NGO stuff. A lot of the celebrated movies were NGO. That was a place of TV shows, and if you're talking about there was the KBC programming that was mass, like mass programming for everyone. But if you're talking about more highbrow programming, aside from the stuff that would air for 1 or 2 episodes, it was always funded by NGOs, and it still wasn't that good. So when you got out into the scene, you wanted to get on stage. That's where it was at.
Okay.
That's where it was at. And
I remember my Kenya National Theatre visits were mini.
Did you? Wow. You were raised well.
Yeah, my parents didn't know about it.
Oh, so you'd go there yourself?
Influenced a lot. Well, Rina, the Oyers.
Ah, okay. All right. So you're talking about those latter days.
Yeah. All these people. So when I remember going to the professional center, because I had nothing to do and I didn't want to go watch a movie on my own. And I'd be like, this is where my friends are.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And then you pay $350 or $200 bob, and you sit there in a nice cozy place. And I was like, this is amazing.
My first experience with theatre was, at least within my memory of watching theatre, and I was telling my mom about this. She took me to see Betrayal in the City.
Wow.
Yeah, which I believe was written by Francis Mbuga, I think. Oh my God, I really wish I had checked this out before.
Early 90s, no?
Yeah, this was the early 90s. It was the early 90s. It was about 92, 93. And I remember being so awed by... here's a little bit of backstory. They used to promo for protest theatre, because this was Moi's era. Yeah. And there was a lot of protest theatre that came up. I mean, I forget what was this, the theatre in... somewhere in Kikuyu land that Ngugi wa Thiong'o used to run, where he would write the plays and then stage them and find amateur people to put them on. And it was open air theatre, yeah. Okay. It was in Shags, it was in Kikuyu land somewhere. And he had a theatre there that used to run. It was literally like a repository theatre where they would put on stuff regularly. And this is of course the material that would now lead into find its way into his books and formed a large part of his body of work. But in its rudimentary form, it was theatre plays that were put on for the community, by the community. He wasn't looking for professional actors or anything. He was like, here are your lines, and they'd memorize them and rehearse, and he would be the one directing them, and they'd stage these. So there was actually a huge cultural push for Kenyans to know themselves through theatre. And Mom being an English teacher, a teacher of English and English literature, wanted to see what these adaptations of set books that had some production value attached to them. She wanted to see them. And one day, I think, I probably asked her if I could tag along, and she said yes. And it was my first time at the Kenya National Theatre. I remember being so awed. The promos were shot in real life, and the lines were being... the promos would run so many times on KBC that there were bits of the play where you could memorize, you could say the lines. Yeah. Along with the actors. Think about it this way. You've seen these guys on ads on TV. Yeah. There's just like 2 stations at that point. And
2?
Yeah, because it was after the 90s. You know when KTN showed up in 1990?
Oh, okay.
Was it 89 or 90?
Somewhere. That's a Boolean.
Yeah. Who all migrated from
and
KBC.
Rafael Tuju, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. Rafael Tuju, Njoroge Mora.
Exactly, yeah.
Kathleen Openda.
What?
Yeah.
Old school days. They all were young and they had short hair.
Yeah, and they were so articulate. Hey man, it was amazing.
I was so enthralled.
We were, man.
Crazy,
like, this is Kenya.
Where they go? They're like black, white.
Yeah, they didn't have those names. I'm like, how does someone called Openda talk like they're British? Like, how does that happen? Kathleen Openda reporting for KTN Nairobi, and I'm like, what?
It's so strange. We've been here for a while.
We have. So these guys were on TV every night.
Yeah.
So seeing them on that stage, breathing the same air, was mind-blowing for me. Like, theatre actors were bona fide celebrities.
Yes.
And I watched this play, and lights up, lights out, curtain, and, stage left. Of course, I don't have any terms for this, but I'm seeing people walk in and out, and I think about 15, 20 minutes in, I was like, I see how it works. This is real, but not real.
Yeah.
They walk in, they walk out. What does it look like back there? Is it a vast expanse of space? I was so curious. And then
you say you're like,
at the same time...
You're like, what, 13, 12?
Yeah, actually I think I was like 11, 12. Yeah, 11, 12. Okay. But then at the same time, my mom was teaching in Nairobi School in Patch, and they had interhouse. So every so often they would allow us to come and watch the plays, the interhouse drama plays, because she was one of the judges.
Yes.
And if she was ever the judge, she would say, come to the hall at this time, because we lived in the school. She'd like, come to the hall at this time, it starts at this time, so we'd have dinner. I've never ever shared this memory, man. It's coming to me now. Like, wow. So she'd say, have dinner, and then we'd have dinner very excitedly, my sister and I. My brother was tiny at that point. And we'd make the walk from our house to the theatre and sit at the front row with other teachers' kids and just watch theatre and dance. It wasn't as refined because it was interhouse.
It's high school.
Yeah, it's high school. Yeah. But it was still very... formative, in my head. I was like, this is some really cool stuff.
That's surprisingly 1% of the 1% of the 1% who got that opportunity.
True, very true.
Yeah.
And let me put it another way, even to set it in perspective. We might have been, 20 other kids in the room because it was a bunch of teachers, and some of them would tell their kids to stay at home. But I think my mom could see that this was the stuff that was really making me happy, and it was a good hangout time with the other kids who I usually wouldn't see. But I imagine the other 19 would have thought, yeah, this is okay, this is cool. But I was there like, damn, man, I want some of this. There's one play in particular, I remember, where there was a scene of people getting thrown into prison. And because this is young high school guys, and the stage was really well done stage. I mean, our high schools had really good theatres. If they were like the colonial high schools, they had really good theatre spaces. They took they were cognizant of acoustics and space, and they had good backstage areas.
Sizes.
Yeah, and the size was big, and the floor was always very woody and hollow. Yes, and there was a place under.
Which surprises me to this day.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful. So, so I remember these guys were being thrown onto the stage, and we loved it. What they do is really just toss themselves onto the stage and roll. And
they make that wooden
and they
noise
make that sound, and it was so good. And I remember afterwards, and we knew the procedure. We'd sit there, we'd watch the plays, and then the houses would come up and be given the actors and the director of the whoever would come up and be given their notes. Like, we liked this, we liked this, we liked this. We give this house this number of points, this house this number of points, this house this number of points, and this is the house that wins.
Yes.
It was like that standard.
Clockwork.
So afterwards, it'd be a lot of... and I think students and teachers interacted a lot better then.
Yes.
They'd speak, well, maybe it's from a kid's perspective, but it looked to me like they were peers. Because even the high school kids were like adults to you. And everyone was milling about, talking about, this is what you would have done better after everything was over. Yeah. I remember going to the side of the stage and doing the exact same thing I'd just seen. Literally running and launching myself and rolling on the stage, and I was like, this is so much fun. I must have done it like 7 or 8 times. I loved. Yes, I guess. Or I think, Tonee, you know what I think? I think they'd close the curtains. So I could do it all behind the curtains without interrupting anyone.
More likely than
yeah, I think that's what happened.
You just wanted to be part of something.
I did.
Yeah.
And this is when I could see the artifice of it all. I could see the props on the side, and I could see the space, and people would hang up their costumes or whatever, and I'm like, I get it. This is what theatre is.
It wasn't for you. You were fascinated by the acting and the people in front of the theatre, but you're also fascinated by the mechanics of it all.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Everything that goes in the back.
Yeah.
So you didn't do it for the celebrity vibe. You didn't want people to like you.
Oh my God, no.
I want to be popular. And everybody knows you. No, that didn't fascinate you.
Oh gosh, no.
It was the actual blueprint of the whole process.
Of how it works. That was the most fascinating thing about it for me. So,
because you've done this for 20-something plus years. Thanks. Shocking, bro. That is staying power.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've been doing it a while. Yeah. Really seriously after campus.
Yeah.
And that's what led me now to be making this call to Hicks and saying, please just allow me to come in and rehearse for this thing.
Let me do this.
And it worked out, and
And so you get into Ogilvy.
Yeah.
You're working there doing copywriting.
Yes.
And then now
I was still trying to act on the side. Mm-hmm. So back then there was a lot of people. There wasn't anywhere near the same number of full-time actors
as there is now.
But
But there wasn't money in acting then.
And there wasn't that much work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there wasn't work because there wasn't money, or there wasn't money because there wasn't work. I'm not sure which is which.
Actually, it's the same. Yeah, it's a chicken and egg thing. But you don't really know what one led to the other. But there was a screen. There was a bit of a culture that was starting to grow. A film like The Bicycle, and then later on, Wanurika, he was Rasta. We hadn't seen production value on that level yet. Mm-hmm. I believe both of them were shot on film, and I'm talking about film stock,
film,
like actual film stock,
actual
like film reels. Yeah.
Okay.
So that tells you about how big these things were.
These are big.
And then many years later, I heard about Heartbeat FM. Heartbeat FM was funded by Population Services International.
Okay.
Those are the guys who they were the marketers of Trust condoms.
Yes, PSI.
Yeah, PSI. Huge company.
He's massive.
A lot of American funding.
A lot.
All that money was coming in, and it was going into ads, and they did some really good ads.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Maisha iko sawa na Trust.
Mm-hmm.
The really high value, high production value, high thought concept ideas.
But that time, a lot of American money. A lot of the crew was being imported. Or was it Kenyan?
Yes. Yeah, no. There was the creative was Kenyan, and I'm putting Kenyan in huge quotes because it was white people or Indian people working in Kenya with probably
two black people.
Yeah, black Kenyan underlings.
Microphone over there. You take this briefcase and move it.
even the ad space, the black creatives would always be, and this was my experience as well. We were the ones always watching the big budget ads being done.
Yeah.
And sometimes we had a hand in writing them, but most of the time it rested with the creative director because he had more experience than you did.
Yeah.
But around this time, there was also TV coming out. So Heartbeat FM was a show about AIDS awareness and healthy living in the time of HIV/AIDS.
Yes, it was a thing.
Such a concerted effort, man. And I really feel bad. I mean, we all walk around like HIV packed up and left. ARVs exist and people can live much longer, but there isn't as much emphasis now on responsible sexual behavior as there was back then.
And especially now with social media and every third tweet or Instagram post or TikTok video or Facebook post being someone's butt. It is difficult. Yeah.
I really have to celebrate the fact that we're enjoying this sexual liberation now.
Yeah.
But I really wish that it was in the spectrum of, well, we're celebrating what sexual freedom is like and the diversity of sexual expression. How about we also remind people to stay safe
and be responsible?
Because that's everything. That's everything.
All the liberation in the world.
It means nothing.
Can be destroyed in an instant.
That's true. Yeah. It's very true.
And then the problem is, once it's destroyed, nobody talks about it.
No.
In fact, you're shunned still.
You're
still stereotyped and pushed aside.
It's true. I mean, if I went, and got tested and then discovered I was HIV positive and then went on my Twitter and said, So guys, this is what I discovered. I'm actually HIV positive. I'm telling you, the same level of stigma of the 90s.
It's still there.
Still
100%, bro. What?
Yeah, man.
Hey. Have you guys heard that? First of all, you become promiscuous. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Before it was sexual relation.
Now it's promiscuous. Yeah, exactly. It's like thin line. So if all the... I like this conversation. The fact that we, if it continued that same line, then I think we'd be much better people now. Even a lot of the gender-based violence and all the violence around, like sexual assault would be considered within a healthier, more mindful way, not with the way it's being conducted now.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem when you're myopic about sexual expression. Then it becomes impossible for you to, in any way, shape, or form, seem balanced about anything else.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're very right.
But if you're open about it and talk about there's expression, there's responsibility, there's care, there's self-care as well.
Respect, self-care.
Respect, especially when you start bringing respect.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, if you turn any conversation into the victim and the perpetrator, and you don't have a conversation between, then it's impossible for people to find what is middle ground.
Yeah.
You're either on our side or
on their side. Yeah.
And there's no black and white situation at all.
And it's very unfortunate that, for instance, whenever someone comes out and says, I got assaulted, suddenly everyone believes in the law, everyone believes in the police, everyone believes in, we have to make sure that we believe in justice, and we believe that Kenya is one of the most just countries in the world. And why don't we just relegate this to the police and the justice system? And I'm like, no, come on, guys. Really, what is this about? It is a social conversation. It needs to be had in a very, like I said, just like you said, you're talking about the whole 360 or the entire spectrum of what these conversations ought to be. And I honestly think that, when it was a let all the men keep quiet, let the vagina have a monologue. There was a time when Kenya was headed in that direction. And remember, I don't know if you remember when there was the sexual offences bill, and this is around the same time frame that I'm talking about now. Exactly. And Jokindong was so passionate about it. And when she succeeded, we realized, there's one thing about this thing that we haven't thought about. Now, how do we actually execute? How do we enforce all this stuff? And it just fell there.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
Because when you force something like this through without educating the people, and half of every sexual conversation
is steeped in such ignorance.
First, it's extremely ignorant.
It's ignorant.
And then second, is stigmatized.
It is.
So if you can't talk about it, and you push it, but you can't. So it's kind of like forcing to put food on someone's plate. You've done all of it, and then you put it in front, and then they're just not going to eat it. It's very difficult for you to push it off. And also, I think one of the other things that we need to do, not just as society, but also as men, is start talking about it.
I think so. I think we need to. I think we need to create space for people to talk about it freely. And then I think we need to step out of the room when the women are talking about it, and then when they congregate and say, okay, dudes, come and listen, we're like, okay, fine.
And we just listen.
And listen.
Not participate.
No.
We'll sit in the back.
Just listen.
We'll be like,
and then be like, okay.
And then at the end of it, when it's, now let's all talk about it. We all talk
then
about
suddenly
it.
we're,
Yeah, that's true. Can you see how, and this is interesting to me because the whole process of acting, the whole process of you working in theatre, the whole process of storytelling always comes back to society. And it comes back to three things, I think. It comes back to how theatre mirrors what society looks like. It comes back to how we have carried our heritage as Africans, as black people, as black men, black women, whatever it is we are. But it also comes to the finances of this whole space. Because as you kept saying, and you said over and over again, the money for most of the things we've done in terms of storytelling has never come from us. It's always come from...
Yeah, back then it wasn't. Wow, okay, dude, okay, that's like oh shucks. Yeah, there's still such little money coming from within. You're right.
Though,
oh gosh, okay. Man, every time I think
because
we've taken many steps forward, and I'm like, no, we've actually taken this number of steps back because
I want to know from you, what is the business? How do you make money, bro? How do you make... Because, okay, so at the heart of things, I'm an entrepreneur. And for me, I always want to know, where is the opportunity? And theatre, I mean, we're just coming off the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
We're coming off Disney, getting Disney Plus. We're coming off the world saying that, I mean,
the technology world saying that the 2020, 2021, 2020, 2030 is the streaming.
As the streaming age.
We're going to see a lot less TV coming from a big broadcaster and a lot more TV coming from YouTubers, youngest YouTube. I mean, most. I believe he was 8 years old. The person on YouTube made the most money, $6 million.
Yeah.
And now this podcast vibe, this vlog vibe is beating traditional broadcast. Then the question becomes: is that reaching the acting stage? Is that reaching that space? And is it how much of an impact is it having with everybody being an influencer now?
Wow. Okay, that's a heck of a conversation.
That's a loaded question.
It's many questions.
I'd have to be in message.
Ooh, okay. Let us see what we're going to concern ourselves with the next half hour of conversation. Okay.
I could not have said that better myself. Catch you on the next one with Mugambi Nthiga and his acting startup of himself. And thanks for listening. If I don't say that often enough, I do appreciate all the people who have downloaded the podcast. Cheers.